Okay, Greg, take it away.
Excellent. Let's just do a quick roll call. Anthony Beach.
Present.
Greg Gutman, present. Angie Marks is not here today. Shaka Mitchell, are you in the line? No Shaka. Charles Newsom.
Present.
James Nurse.
Present.
Mary Rogel.
Present.
Nancy Stanek is here. George Rumsey.
Here.
All right, and Eric Thompson. Okay. Pursuant to the applicable law, my determination that the attendance by the remote means is necessary because an in-person meeting is not practical nor prudent during the declared public health disaster caused by COVID-19. This meeting is conducted via video conferences. It is being recorded and will be posted to the SSA website shortly. All right. We received the minutes last week from Rod. Does anyone have any corrections to the minutes before we vote on them, or comments on the minutes? Okay. Sorry, 1 second here. I have the wrong agenda, guys. Sorry, give me 1 second. All right, well, if there are no corrections, no objections, the minutes are accepted as circulated. Thanks, Raymond. We have lots of wonderful guests today. Thank you guys for showing up. Would any of our guests like to bring any new business or speak during the meeting? This is sort of the 3 minutes allotted to all guests. And you can just raise your hand if you have a comment, you want to talk. Nobody. Okay.
Actually, there are 2 people. You've got Aaron Gettinger and Jordan Sorrell, their hands raised.
Huh. Okay. I didn't see it. Great. Aaron, it's great to see you.
Hey, good to see everyone as well. Don't want to take too much time, and I'm sorry I haven't been coming to these meetings lately, but we need to write an article, obviously, about the holiday shopping season this year. On top of that, I'm interested in what the SSA is doing to promote local retailers in Hyde Park. But if anybody would want to speak to me about how the season has been, it would make my job easier. Although I'll obviously be on 53rd a lot this week, walking around trying to get the story out. So thanks for having me, and I'll shut up now. Take care.
Thanks. Okay. I'm sorry.
Let me quickly answer that. Aaron, can I get to you after this meeting? Because we have a winter farmers market. So let me give you a call after this meeting.
By all means. I think you've got my number, right?
Yes. If not, I can find it.
Okay. Thanks, guys.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I forgot who else had their hand up.
Jordan.
Jordan. We're ready for you.
Thanks a lot, Greg, and good morning, everybody. I just wanted to say quickly, just come on the call and thank, firstly, Greg and the commissioners for continued support and execution of the SSA, and also SCCC staff as well. We look forward to continuing to be of support and collaboration going forward in 2023. I know we have a couple board members as well, and definitely look forward, Greg, to working with Diane and you together to help advance some of the missions and the objectives of the SSA. So I just wanted to come on and quickly say hello, but also just say thank you for what everybody's been doing and continue to do as well too on behalf of our community.
Thanks. The feeling is mutual. The SECC has been particularly outstanding this year, and you guys really stepped up when we needed you. So thank you.
Thank you.
Isaac, do you want to report October and November? We need October and November financials.
I thought we did October.
We didn't have a meeting in November, so we have to do October and November.
All right, well, let me, I have November's pulled up. I don't have October pulled up.
Okay.
Give me 1 second.
The screen's ready for you to share whenever.
All right, well, I have November. Let's go through November first, then
Yeah.
I'll do October.
Okay.
One second. All righty, so here's the financials year to date as of November 30th, 2022 and 2021. Total cash in the bank at 56,000 compared to 87. Accounts receivable is 294. We have not had any tax collections since the spring. So total assets at 350,000 compared to 109,000 in 2021. Accounts payable liabilities at 4,600 compared to 5,540. Deferred revenue is at 272 compared to 260. And due to SECC, due to the fact because of the liquidity and non-tax receipts, we have not been paying the administrator. And so that's where all that liability comes from, that 30,734. So total liabilities at 308,000 compared to 266. Total net assets at 42,599 compared to a negative 156 last year. So total liabilities and net assets at 356.82 compared to 109,464. So that's the statement of financial position as of November 30th, 2022. Any questions before we move to the budget versus actual? All right, if not, let me increase the font here. Wait. All right, so no revenues in the month of November. Expenses for 1.0 for 1 second. For customer attraction, we only had 375 for brand placement. So total overall 375, a budget of a monthly basis of 7,833. For the years at 36,000, budget at 86. So you still have a remaining 57,000 that you could have spent for the year. For public way, we had no expenses for the month. For the year is at 62 compared to a budget of 100. And so you still have another 47,000 that you could have spent. We have not spent anything for the year or the month for sustainability or for economic development or for safety programs. So for management, we just have spent 833. That's just dealing with bookkeeping and rent. For the year is at 14,982 compared to a budget of 2543. So you still have remaining of 7,428. For the personnel, 6,400 for the month. 5,200 compared for the month compared to a budget of 48. That's just the adjustment that we made to include the payroll taxes. So taking no revenues, total expenses 6,400. So you have a shortfall of 6,400. For the year, 57,000 compared to a budget of 43. Total expenses 171 compared to a budget of 319. So for the year, we had a shortfall of 22,775. And we actually projected a shortfall of 48,000. So that is the statement of financial activity, budget versus actual as of November 30th, 2022.
Any
Any
questions?
questions?
George?
Yeah, just one quick question. Isaac, could you go all the way back up to the first category?
Sure, 1.0.
Yes.
Okay.
On most months, we have expenses for the website and for the social media outreach. And I saw that for this one, there's no charges for those. Are we not paying anything for that at the moment?
Probably just not get the invoice in a timely manner. So that's why it's not reflected.
Okay. I noticed there was when you get to the prior months, it wasn't on there either, so it's been 2 months. That was the reason I just wanted to raise it to ask about it.
So Rod, has we slowed down with the vendor
Mm.
website?
No, we haven't slowed down. We just, let me check in to see why the payments aren't reflected.
Okay, yeah, so probably just haven't received the invoices. All right. Good question though, George.
Do we peek at October?
Let me pull that up. Give me a second, okay?
Thank you.
George, this is also a cue to have both budget tracker months ready.
There's no point in having 2 separate budget trackers since the current budget tracker shows every month. So
Okay.
a budget tracker will get us all through both. months.
Okay.
While Isaac is looking, do you,
I have it.
Isaac? Oh,
I
you
have
have
it.
it. Okay.
Yeah, give me 1 second. All righty, here's October. So as of October, with a total of 56,956 compared to 154. Total assets is at 351 compared to 179. Accounts payable was at 44,660 compared to 29,021. Only change between November and October, it was 24,699 compared to 8,682. So total liabilities is 302,000 compared to 298. Total net assets at 49,000 compared to a negative 118. So total liabilities and net assets at 351 compared to 179 in 2021. Any questions for the statement of financial position? Okay, if not, budget to actual. Let me just blow this up a little bit so everybody can see. All right, so no revenues coming in. And George, to your point, we did have website billing in October. And we did have social media of 900. So in October, it was 1,500 and 1.0 compared to a budget of 7,800. We had nothing for public way aesthetics, nothing for sustainability, nothing for economic development, nothing for public safety. And for SSA management, we just had bookkeeping and rent of 833. We had personnel of 5,200. So total expenses of 7,536. So that's a shortfall of 7,536 because we had no revenue for the year. And we had total expenses of 164, and we had a shortfall of 15,990 as of October 31st. Any questions? George, you good?
Good.
All right. So no questions. I'll turn it over to George. Oh, go ahead, Greg.
Yeah, actually, let's see that budget tracker, George.
Okay. Thanks to Ramon for just getting the answer back to us about the November's, that it was just processed last week. So that was the answer to my question. The budget tracker this will be very brief because there's very little to report. With no new revenue, there's very few things that we're spending money on. And so at the end of the day, when I balance the budget tracker against Isaac's financial reports, we're within $1 of one another. So that's just a way of verifying that we're all on the same page and that we're looking forward to the date when our tax revenue income resumes, hopefully sooner rather than later. So you all should have received this. I think there's very little to actually discuss at this point.
Thanks, George. Does anyone have any questions or objections to the financial information?
Okay.
None?
Even though it hasn't been listed, I've got to do a quick follow-up. George, your wishes have been granted. Tax collections have resumed, and probably as soon as Friday, we should start getting disbursements. We've gone from famine to feast. So what Diane and Raymond, and definitely along with the finance committee, will be doing is trying to spend down this money as fast as we can for this year. That was something that the city advised us to do to keep the bills and the books straight for this year. Diane and I were on a call last week to the city, and we got some guidance on what's going to happen next year. We're going to get roughly payments instead of getting two. It's going to amount to, like, I believe Mark said 2.75 to about 3 payments. So we're going to get all of that money to spend, and we have to spend it next year because we're going through reconstitution, and the money, and Diane asked this question, and I'm glad she clarified that the money, if we're allowed to reconstitute, doesn't cross over. So everything that we get, we have to spend, or that money is lost. So in addition to having to spend 3 payments, any money that comes, we have to spend that. I've passed out to everyone the 2023 budget. The EAVs have been updated, so that's the budget we'll use going forward next year. Any questions on that before we move on?
Did the city indicate how much they're gonna send us, or the full amount?
Well, as people make the tax payments, they'll determine how much of the portion we'll get, and then they'll just pass it right to us. And they say, look in our bank accounts every Friday. So
Okay.
I'm assuming starting this Friday and next Friday and the Friday between Christmas and New Year, we'll start getting money into our accounts.
I get a little nervous when I hear like we're gonna try to spend it down as fast as we can. And has the city indicated how much we're allowed to roll over? So we can.
Right, that'll be a topic for January's meeting, because we'll have to move money in the categories and be able to spend it, and the commissioners are going to have to approve of that. The main thing there is everything that we get, it won't cross over. Let's say we successfully reconstitute, it won't cross over into the 2024 budget. I'm sorry, the 2024 budget if we reconstitute. So there's a hard stop financially at the end of next year.
Understood. We still have the rule.
Can I answer your question, Greg? I think.
Yep.
Is what I'm hearing you ask is about the late collection carryover. So late collection carryover is different than, like, at the end of the year, we can carry over up to 25% and that is typically a carryover budget. This is going to be a late collection. So we will be able to, anything that's collected late will carry over.
Excellent. So
but there's no way for us to predict how much we're going to get and when, because this is
Right.
obviously an unpredictable situation that
Sure.
we never have had to face before.
But once we pay back the SECC, we're not going to have much money to spend that we have to, right? The rest, it'll be late collections, which means all of that rolls over. So there's no need to spend as fast as we can in December on low priority items.
I think money that we receive in December, we will have to spend. Late collection, I believe, is post 31st.
Diane, you're right.
That was my understanding. So anything we get
That is correct.
starting in 2023, that's a late collection. If we get anything now through the end of the year, we do have to spend those funds. So that's going to be Rod's interesting job to help make sure we do that correctly. So, getting some things moving like power washing, or perhaps we what do you call it? Our flower planters and holiday decorations. We have already done those flower baskets, but they agreed to hold the invoice. So things like that, you know? So we will catch up on bills, make sure we pay back, you know, SECC, those kinds of things, but not a rush to pay it, but we will have a time crunch to make sure we spend that money.
Rod, what's your limit for spending before you have to come back to us for approval?
5,000.
5,000,
Okay.
Thank you.
but the
Yeah.
5,000 doesn't include things that are already approved, such as power washing, the banners, clean slate, the website, those things we've already approved. But if it was a new thing, like say we want to do a mural or we want to do a holiday light festival or something, we'd have to get approval.
Could I-
Right, yeah,
could I-
these
could
are
I-
new projects.
Could I?
We
Right,
won't be
right.
doing anything new between now and the end of the year.
Greg, I hear like you're concerned about something. What's your concern?
Yeah. Hold on 1 second. Should we let Isaac go and approve
No,
these
he can
financials?
stay.
Isaac, you're always welcome to stay, but I know that you take time out. So I just let's I think does anyone have any objections to the financials that he reported? Okay, they're accepted as circulated. Thanks, Isaac. Please hang out if you're interested in the conversation. So my concern is that we are forced to spend money when we need it least, right? Like all this power washing is so much more valuable in the spring and the summer when everyone's on the street than in winter, right?
Right.
So
Right.
there's
That was just like a suggestion, but there
Sure.
are other items.
the budget is so big that it justifies doing and we
35 singles and 3 fives.
okay, someone please
Yeah, I'm gonna-
someone please mute your phone.
Rod, can
budget-
you mute everyone except Greg?
Yeah, I muted the sound where it's
Um,
coming from.
The budget is, we've pre-approved basically you to do anything that you want because there's money in almost all these different categories. So we're not, so if we, I'm concerned that you get to choose the priorities that maybe the board wouldn't have chosen.
No. All of this will be done with the approval of the board goes through the finance committee. No, that's not how this works.
Okay, so even though it's been approved in a city approved budget, you need the,
I'm basically giving you kind of a quick report of cash flow as it's going to go forward. The cash has now been released and we have a lot of it, or we'll have a lot of it. But no, all of this has to be done with conjunction. The city has given us that guidance and we have to go through the budget and the commissioners have to approve those.
George.
I was just going to raise an additional possibility, which I think may answer Greg's concerns and might be a benefit to all the commission. And that is that that Rod and Diane keep the commission informed between now and January 1st on a regular basis. I don't know if that's weekly or whatever, whenever we do get deposits, just so we know, so that we're aware of what's coming up with your ideas of where you want to expend. It seems to me the obvious first bill that we need to pay is the SECC bill, that takes priority over everything else. But I think if you just keep us informed each step of the way, and if there's any questions, raise it, and the commissioners can respond with any concerns or interests. We won't have a finance committee meeting before the end of the year. We've already had our meeting for December. So between now and December 31st, I think simply if you stay in touch with the commission, we can accomplish what we need.
Right, and that's more or less the plan. I mean, we can't really spend the money without the commission's approval. Right now, these are bills, and Diane said this earlier, these are bills we've already accumulated. So the SECC, what is it, the polls, the holiday decorations, those were already approved.
Yeah. No
And those are
objections. We should
things
pay
we're
what,
going forward with, but no, we aren't going to introduce anything and really can't and shouldn't and can't without the commission's approval
but you,
or informing, yes.
okay, so for instance, we've got to spend 20 grand on landscaping. But there's, it's not so easy to landscape I'm guessing in the winter, not my field, but I'm guessing. How do we know that we're not I don't want to burn money landscaping just because it's in the budget, right? Like if it doesn't make sense, we shouldn't spend it.
I'll give you a better example. The power washing season is over.
Yeah.
So whatever was budgeted for that earlier this year, that's money that we can't do anything with. I mean, we're not going to call the power washing people and say, do it now. They ended their season last month. So that's money that the commissioners are going to have to decide what's the correct category for that. It's over $5,000. It's about $9 grand. So those are things that the commissioners are going to have to decide what's the best uses for that money.
But that's assuming that we get a large number of deposits, which I personally think is probably very unlikely before the end of the year. I mean, the tax deadline is December 31st. Most people wait until the last minute to pay their bills. And so I don't think there's going to be a huge, deluge of cash coming our way between now and December 31st.
That makes a lot of sense. I think. Okay.
Wendy has her hand up. Sorry.
So if I'm not mistaken, this is not the first time this has happened or the second time. Am I correct? Don't we normally run into this at the end of the year?
No, this is different. This is because they're telling us that this is the money that's received by December 31st from this previous year. If I understood the conversation correctly, can't be carried over to next year. That's never happened. We've always been able to do something of a carryover. We've had carryovers the past 2 years, and we can still carry over some of our regular budget. If I understood it, it's just that amounts that come in by December 31st, we need to spend.
Right. And in past years, we used to get it much earlier, right? So we had all fall to decide where to spend it instead of rushing to do it in 2 weeks.
But Wendy's also right, because we do have a history of paying down a lot of our future expenses in December. There are things that we want to have done in the spring that we know we want to have done, like power washing. There's no reason we can't pay the bill now, that we can't prepay up front for something that we know we will want to have done in the coming year.
Okay.
And I think what also, Wendy, I just want to also clarifying points is we have had late collections in past. And we've also had a lost collection where we didn't collect. So every year, literally every year, except for 1 year, we have had to always play the game of we didn't collect enough money, so you can't spend what you don't collect. And so we'd always have that interesting time right here where we kind of figure out, what do we spend? What can't we spend? If we spend that, are we going to go over budget? All that kind of stuff. So this year is similar, but it's a different flow.
Yep.
Everything that we have had to experience with SSA, this commission has had to experience.
Okay. Last
Thank you for
comment.
the
I'm just new.
clarification.
Right. I'm just new.
I'm sure that you guys will stay within whatever guidelines the city has put forth in terms of this new way of doing things for this year. So I trust you will make the right decisions.
Okay, before we go to the next item on the agenda, which is our reconstitution, does anyone want to add to this conversation before we move on? We're all good. Okay, great. Rod, can you walk us through the reconstitution status?
Okay. As of 12/1, the city has accepted our application and has given us the okay to proceed. And after that, we met on the 8th and we talked about the consultant RFP, which I've passed out to everyone. I'll talk about that a little bit later. We have to formalize the reconstitution committee. So this was more ad hoc. We have to make that formal, I have to submit those names to the city. And we are in the process of putting up a website to explain the process. So those are the things that are going on with the reconstitution. The RFP has to be reviewed by the commissioners because the money for the reconstitution is coming out of the SSA budget. You all have been passed the RFP for that. This one was the latest changes. There were some other comments when I sent out yesterday. So there's some more minor changes, but for the most part, the RFP, in essence, what I passed out yesterday is the one that we need to discuss today. Are there any questions in terms of the reconstitution process?
Quick shout out to Roger Huff. I think I saw you on this call. Thank you so much for all your free legal advice. It's very generous.
I got to
And
give
just-
my caveat, that's not legal advice. I'm retired, not authorized to practice law. I just share my thoughts.
Thank
They're
you, Roger.
appreciated.
And also to Joyce, who is on the call, who has served on the reconstitution, and Mike McGarry as well. I did put a link in the chat to the webpage that is on live on the SECC's website for reconstitution. We will be continually updating that website, and it will also be linked to the Downtown Hyde Park website as well. So that way everything reconstitution will live in one place. And then
Super.
also just to clarify what Rod said, for the reconstitution committee, it will be forming an advisory committee starting in January. That is the official term, advisory.
Got it. Any additional comments on reconstitution? All right, Rod, could you take us through item 5 programs?
Item 5, I am going to briefly cover that. We'll push this off to January, but our RFPs or our contracts are ending mostly at the end of this year. This would be our power washing, our landscape decorations. So in January, we're going to have to go through the process of reviewing the RFPs to put those out and selecting either if our current people come through with the best bid, we'll do that, or with new bidders. But those are the 3 RFPs we have to consider next month. Or actually 2 of them, and in litter abatement, that one ends the end of March. So those are coming up. And that's it for the programs.
Okay. Item 6, meeting schedule for next year. I hope everyone received the schedule from Raymond and Rod. Before we move to a vote, I think this is procedural, but I just want to hear, does anyone have any concerns or comments they want to flush out before we formalize this?
Yeah, I have one, and that is for the date I'm going to ask that this get approved. I have to research some more, and I have a question into the city about the date in July. They want us to move that up because generally that's when we do the budget, and it has to be approved when we had that special meeting earlier this year. Generally, our meeting should happen before, I believe, the 15th or so. So I need to check with the city. I'm going to ask commissioners that you approve that. And if we have to modify that, I'll let you know, and then we can make the adjustment at that time.
Can I get a motion to approve the 2023 commissioner meeting schedule with the adjustments Rod mentioned?
I so move.
Second.
All right, it's moved and seconded. Any debate? Concerns? Okay. I think we're ready to vote on this one. The question is on the adoption of the motion to accept the 2023 commissioner minutes. All in favor, please say aye.
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 All
Aye.
opposed. All opposed, please say no. Or oppose. Okay, great. Thank you. Passed. What's next? Chairman update. I don't have an update for everybody. Question 8 or item 8. Questions and comments from the commissioners. Quiet group today,
Let me ask a question,
please.
Greg. Last month I brought up the problem of the water that's accumulating at 53rd and Lake Park. We had a big rainstorm a week or so ago, and it's really bad. The water just accumulates down at the corner of Akira, and it comes all the way up to the corner of Akira. So it's covering the sidewalk as well as the crosswalk. I think that somebody was going to be contacting the alderman about that, and I just wondered if there's any follow-up. Because
Mary,
it's going to get.
Can you shoot Rod and I a reminder email? We will send that again.
Okay, yeah, because I'm worried when it freezes, it's going to be really bad there.
Yes, please send it, and stating which corner, so that way we can send it to the appropriate office.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, and that's for all commissioners. When there is a concern in the footprint, send it to Rod and I, and we'll push it through. And if something doesn't happen, we'll do it again. We'll just keep doing it. We'll bug them.
Thanks.
Anyone else?
One last thing.
Mhm.
You all have gotten an email from me earlier, inviting you all to the Hyde Park Farmers Market Winter Market on Saturday at the Promontory from 9 to 2 p.m. Please come out and support the vendors. Also, if you'd like to volunteer or help, please come out. And we look forward to seeing everyone.
Okay. Last chance. All right. There's no further business and there's no objection. The meeting will be adjourned. I don't hear any objections.
Happy
so
holidays, everyone.
We're adjourned.
Yeah, happy
Happy
holidays.
holidays. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you. Thank you for your
Thank you.
service.
Holidays.
Happy holidays.